It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, my name is Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I am your game master and host, Tyler Hapney. I've run hundreds of sessions of Cyberpunk Red and Dungeons & Dragons combined, and this podcast is a way for me to reconcile my thoughts on both of those systems. So today, we are going to go back to Dungeons & Dragons. And once again, we have sort of been plagued by this issue of not a lot of new official Wizards of the Coast licensed books are dropping. So there's not a ton of new news to talk about or new content. I think still the last we got were the Heroes of Faerun and the Adventures of Faerun and all that business. So, end of the day, I mean, we're going to go back to talking about classes today. I think today we're going to be covering the Sorcerer class. Since the last time we did this, we talked about Wizard. I feel like we should go to the other side of the coin and talk about our naturally magical buddies. And yes, that is sort of the difference between a sorcerer and a wizard, in the fact that a wizard, they obtain their knowledge through rigorous study, having a spell book, memorizing, being generally very intelligent, whereas a sorcerer is born with their magic. It's their natural charisma that sort of links them and their magical abilities. So that is to say, there is a lot of difference in the way magic is approached between the two classes. So for one, a wizard is, character-wise, probably going to be a bit more proud of their accomplishments, considering, it's basically like going to college for 8 years to get a PhD in divination. Or, you've got the sorcerer who's been doing this since they were a kid, or maybe got awakened at some point during their life. But what really matters is the fact that they can just kind of do it naturally. Their talents are theoretically more limited than a wizard, but they have the ability to manipulate their own spells because it comes from within them, that they have the ability to, I guess, naturally affect the way magic or their magic affects other people. So to kind of boil it down, a wizard needs to learn their spells through training, but they have access to more of them and typically can cast more spells per long rest. A sorcerer, on the other hand, has that well of magical power innately within them from the beginning. And it's how they sort of utilize that that determines what they can do. Sorcerers get a little less spells than, or access to a little less spells than wizards do. However, they do have something called meta magic. So these points that allow them to manipulate their spells in a variety of ways. So for instance, one particular meta magic thing it can do is a distance spell. So let's say I have a spell that's ranges like 60 feet. Well, with distance spell, I'm pretty sure that increases drastically. There's also subtle spell where you're able to cast it quietly without anyone really noticing. So that kind of gets rid of the verbal component to a lot of spells, which is very, very, very helpful. And then, there's a lot. There's just a lot out there, and sorcerers are very, very flexible when compared to wizards, since wizards are generally kind of a glass cannon, usually just kind of a magic build, or maybe a blade singer, but I think with sorcerer, you do get a little bit more diversity, but just at the cost of, losing out on some of the really, really cool spells. That are wizard either exclusive or just that wizards get over sorcerers. So back to sorcerer, we are going to sort of start here with our leveling track, as we always do, 1 to 20. So I've already kind of explained how spellcasting and sorcerer's origins sort of work, but for sorcerer's origin, there are a lot of different ways your magic can come about. You can have a divine soul, which is obviously something, blessed by the gods. The divine soul sorcerers are great because they get access to the cleric spell list, which means they can heal. There's shadow magic sorcerer, wild magic sorcery, which is something I think we'll talk about. Clockwork soul, aberrant mind. There is so many different types of sorcerers and ways you can get your sorcery magic. At level 2, you get your sorcery points, which are your meta magic type things. These allow you to, well, I mean, I guess you get meta magic level 3, actually. That's kind of surprising. But at level 2, you get sorcery points, which you can use to gain additional spell slots. Or you can sacrifice spell slots to gain sorcery points. And that's kind of a huge thing with sorcerers, is they can recycle their points into spell slots or their spell slots into points, depending on what they need. And that can create a lot of flexibility, especially when you're in the middle of a dungeon and you really need that one level 4 spell. Well, it turns out your sorcerer might just have enough points. With meta magic, we've already kind of gone over a few. There's Careful Spell. You can protect creatures within like an AoE ability. It'll allow a creature to automatically succeed on the saving throw against that AoE ability, but obviously keep in mind if it's like Fireball or something, they're still going to be taking half damage after a success, so still probably don't Fireball your team. There is Extended Spell. When you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum of 24 hours. There's Quicken Spell. When you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 action, you can spend 2 sorcery points to change the casting time to 1 bonus action for this casting. Very, very interesting stuff. And that's kind of the core of it. Going through 5e. The ability score improvements obviously come at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level. And pretty much that's basically it until level 20. Just like Wizard, Sorcerer doesn't get a ton given to them at all. At level 20, you get Sorcerer's Restoration. At 20th level, you gain 4 expended sorcery points whenever you finish a short rest. That's okay. It's all right. It could be better. I guess it could be a lot worse. But at the end of the day, Sorcerer. So let's talk about some of these Sorcerer's origins. Particularly, let's start with wild magic, because I love wild magic. So wild magic is essentially you're chaos. I don't know how else to describe it. The magic within you is so wild and crazy that sometimes it just does whatever it wants to do. Starting when you choose the origin at first level, once per turn, the DM can have you roll a d20 immediately after you cast the sorcerer spell at first level or higher. If you roll a 1, there's a wild magic surge table that actually determines the new effect of your spell. So think about that one. And what are some of these surges? Well, there's quite a few of them. By my guesstimation, about 20, maybe 30, perhaps even 50. Because there are 2. Yeah, for 2, it'd be 50. So there's 2 numbers for on a D100, and there's, one on a 1 and a 2, you get to roll on the table at the start of each of your turns for the next minute. So that means it really goes crazy if you roll a 1 and then another 1 on a D100. But it's not all bad things. A lot of the things on the wild magic surge table are pretty good. For instance, the next one down at 3 and 4, for the next minute, you can see any invisible creature if you have line of sight to it. So, yeah, you can actually get a pretty good benefit out of this wild magic stuff, depending on what you get. At 9 and 10, you get Magic Missile as a 5th level spell. But if you get a 7 or an 8, you cast Fireball as a 3rd level spell centered on yourself. So really it's just a throw of the dice each time, which literally it's D&D, but like you could get something wildly beneficial or something insanely detrimental. You cast Grease centered on yourself. You gain resistance to all damage for the next minute. You glow with bright light at a 30-foot radius for the next minute. You cast Polymorph on yourself. You cast Fly on a random creature within 60 feet of you. You get the idea. So many of these options are just random, insane bullshit. But when you apply that to an actual tabletop, God, is it fun. Oh my God. Wild Magic Surge is a good time. Of course, there's always the chance that your Wild Magic Sorcerer casts a fireball centered on themselves and levels the entire team and ends the campaign early. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what you signed up for as a wild magic sorcerer, man. That could happen. That could absolutely happen. And, as a player, it is kind of a responsibility to accept that. But hey, at level 1, you get Tides of Chaos. You can manipulate the forces of chance and chaos to gain advantage on a single attack roll, ability check, or a saving throw. But after you do that, you need to finish a long rest before you can finish it again. Anytime before you regain the use of this feature, the DM can have you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table immediately after you cast a Sorcerer spell at first level or higher. You then regain the use of Tides of Chaos. So think about it. So if every time you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, not specifically if you roll for a Wild Magic Surge, but when you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, you get Tides of Chaos back. And it sounds to me like when you use Tides of Chaos, your DM can have you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table immediately, rather than having to roll for Wild Magic Surge. So that's interesting. At 6th level, you get Bend Luck. Starting at 6th level, you have the ability to twist fate using your wild magic. When somebody or another creature, doesn't have to be an ally, makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction and spend 2 sorcery points to roll 1d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or a penalty to the creature's roll. You can do so after the creature rolls, but before any effects of the roll occur. So make sure you get in there after the creature rolls. It's like, oh, I got a 15, and you can say, well, actually, you get a 13, and that makes them miss, and your whole team loves you. So Wild Magic Sorcerer doesn't get anything until 14th level after that. So there's 8 levels of just whatever, just getting spells and spell slots and more sorcery points, which is really all a sorcerer needs. At 14th level, you gain a modicum of control over the surges of your wild magic. Whenever you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, you roll twice and use either number. So that makes it a lot better because you could fireball yourself, or maybe you accidentally regain your lowest level expended spell slot. Instead, could be good. So Wild Magic Sorcerer adds definitely some flavor to a table. But what if you want a more, normal sorcerer? Well, let's look at Aberrant Mind. I guess normal is not exactly the word I would use for Aberrant Mind. An Aberrant Mind is somebody who's basically been given psionic powers, so psychic sort of abilities, by Lovecraftian kind of sources. So it could be mind flayers, could be some sort of weird, aboleth, could be something from the far realm even. It could really be just some Lovecraftian beast. But either way, the Aberrant Mind is somebody whose mind has been touched by a force far outside of their own understanding and has left them permanently scarred with both psionic abilities and magic. So at the psionic spells you get access to Arms of Hadar, Dissonant Whispers, Mind Sliver, Calm Emotions, Detect Thoughts, Hunger of Hadar, Sending, Avard's Black Tentacles, Summon Apparition, Rary's Telepathic Bond, and Telekinesis. So you get all of those as Aberrant Mind. You also, at first level, gain the ability to do telepathic speech. You could speak telepathically to somebody, with somebody, while the two of them are within a number of miles equal to your charisma modifier, which, if you're a good sorcerer, should be 5. So 5 miles, 4 to 5 miles, 3 to 5, I'd say, for a good honest sorcerer who's trying to make their way in the world. Psionic Sorcery, whenever you cast any spell at first level or higher from a Psionic Spells feature, you can cast it by expending a spell slot as normal, or by spending a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. That is extremely good, especially considering, we have things like Dissonant Whispers. Casting that for only 1 or 2 sorcery points is very, very good. At level 6, you gain Psychic Defenses. You gain resistance to psychic damage and have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. And then at level 14, you get Revelation in Flesh. You can unleash the aberrant truth hidden within yourself. As a bonus action, you spend 1 or more sorcery points and transform your body for 10 minutes. For each sorcery point you spend, you can gain 1 of the following benefits. So think about it. If you want all the benefits, you have to spend 4 sorcery points. You can see any invisible creature within 60 feet of you, provided it isn't behind total cover. Your eyes also turn black or become writhing sensory tendrils. You gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. As you fly, your skin glistens with mucus or shines with an otherworldly light. You gain a swimming speed equal to twice your walking speed, and you can breathe underwater. Moreover, gills grow from your neck or fan out from behind your ears. Your fingers become webbed, or you grow writhing cilia that extend through your clothing. And finally, your body, along with any equipment you are wearing or carrying, becomes slimy and pliable. You can move through any space as narrow as 1 inch without squeezing, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or being grappled. So, in other words, you can do a whole lot. And then finally, the sort of capstone ability for Aberrant Mind. At 18th level, you get Warping Implosion. You can unleash your aberrant power as a space warping anomaly. You take an action and you teleport to an unoccupied space within 120 feet of you. And then immediately after you've taken this teleportation, you disappear. Each creature within 30 feet of the space that you just left will make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, they take 3d10 force damage and are pulled straight towards that space you left, like a big old black hole kind of thing. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage it isn't pooled. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Or you spend 5 sorcery points to use it again. And I mean, at level 20 or at level 18, 5 sorcery points shouldn't be too bad of an ask, if you ask me, to be honest with you. So I think it'll work out. But yeah, we're going to get on to our not metaphorical. This one is actually going to be quite literal monster of the week. And since we just talked about aberrant minds, I would like to talk about one of the things that can give you an aberrant mind, the aboleth. What is the aboleth? Well, the aboleth is an ancient race of eel-like creatures that oftentimes like to hang out in the Underdark or the Far Realm or some other things. They're very Lovecraftian, very sort of Cthulhu-esque kind of, they're got a lot of tentacles, man. It's hard to explain them, but the whole basic gist is that these guys love to mess with people's minds, man. They have powerful psychic abilities, very similar to mind flayers. However, they have they usually like to gain a lot of followers. For one, down in the Underdark, it's not uncommon to see an aboleth trying to sort of get together a cult, maybe around itself, either of the Kuatoa or whatever else might be down there. Very likely a Kuatoa, however. It has this viscous gray fluid that it secretes, where if you're caught in the fluid as an air-breathing creature, you basically turn into a servant of the aboleth. And this is how the aboleth gets a lot of their servants, is through this secretion. Interesting thing about aboleths is that they are born with a racial memory. Each individual, this is an exact quote, inheriting the memories of their ancestors. It also inherits the memories of people it consumes. So think about that. Anytime it eats, it'll likely retain quite a decent bit of the memories of the person it ate. And that could also very well be how an aboleth gains its news of the outside world, by all these adventuring parties coming down and, effectively feeding themselves to the aboleth in order to inform it more of maybe any plans that might be going on with the Underdark around the area or anything like that. It obviously, as one might imagine with a creature like this, they're not known for being nice. Generally, they're known for being pretty self-centered, egotistical. They're very old, and they're very proud of that fact. However, they just about hate anything that isn't them. To be honest with you. And that's just kind of the way it is, man. These aboleths, you find them all over the place. And if you do find one, there's a really good chance that you're probably going to die. At least if you're a lower level party. Higher levels probably won't have as much issues with an aboleth, as it is only CR 10. So at the end of the day, They're tough creatures, but by no means are they going to be giving you an absurd amount of issues if you are a higher level. And with that, that is the Aboleth. Please come back next week where we continue our series on Night City 2045. We're going to be talking more about South Night City and the port of Night City, finishing off, as I see it finally, or getting close to finishing off, excuse me, the main island portion of Night City. We can finally get into the north side and mainland and playland by the sea and all that other stuff. But for now, I'm going to have to say goodbye. This has been Dungeons and Dystopias. I have been your host, Tyler Happy. Thank you so much for listening, and please come back next week.